Hey guys, it's Amy. I am here today to help some people that may not know where to find the laws and regulations and whatnot for Utah State. There's also ways to find out for your specific city, but I just wanted to kind of help with Utah State in general. So go to good old Google and you're going to type in UT courts and just hit enter. So the first one that comes up is utahcourts.gov. So this is the URL, and I don't like typing www to everything, so I just go to Google. But anyways, so we're going to just click Utah Courts. Okay, so this is the Utah Courts website. So this up here is a self-help, court records, publications, search, about, so it just tells you about the site and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that this website does, and I won't go into all of them right now. Maybe later by request if somebody wants to look at maybe like how to file a motion or custody or whatever. But anyways, for today, I'm just going to show you guys where you can find the rules for being a citizen in Utah. Not court rules, not divorce rules or all of those things. So on here you can go, I mean, most people probably have never been on this site unless you've gotten a ticket for like second district court, because you can pay your fine or your fees or respond to jury notices, whatnot, all of this stuff, right? Or look up a court case or whatever you need to look up, court calendars, whatnot. Okay, whoops, I pushed a button that I didn't want to push. Okay, so what we're going to look at right now is in the search area, they've got some commonly searched things, or you can just go down and type what you want to search, but we're going to look at Utah code, excuse me. Okay, so Utah code is very complicated to understand if you don't know the legal jargon, but if there's like a phrase or a word that you haven't heard before, because a lot of this stuff was written like before we were even alive, people talked super funky, you can always use a Black's Law dictionary, which is free to use online, and it kind of tells you like what they mean in like normal people language, or you can use Google. So anyways, so when you go to the code, it shows up here is Code and Constitution of Utah. So there's Utah Code by title, chapter, and section. That's the current version with future effective dates. So sometimes there are legislative sessions where it will change certain things to a certain code, or maybe it's not enacted yet. Maybe it has a start date and it's going to be in effect. So that's what this is. You can also do by keyword. So if you're looking for just one specific thing, you can just type it in keyword, and that's all current version. So recodification, the archives, historical records, convention by day, historical records also, Utah territorial laws, the laws of Utah, and rules, and this enabling act. Okay, so but there's like a lot, tons of stuff in here. Okay, and we're gonna look at Utah code by title, chapter, and section for this video in particular, just so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. So this is the Utah code. This is not per your city. This is for the entire state. So as you see up here, Utah legislature. It has legislators, so the people that are making these laws for you. It has the bills, like 2021 bills. Bills are things that are written that people are trying to get laws passed for. There's the code, which are basically the laws, committees, audits, the budgets, research and legal. There's like a ton of stuff. So if you're not all interested in that, I mean, don't dive in. Obviously, the thing that's most important, I think, is knowing where to find the Utah code, because it affects you if you get pulled over or if you're arrested or if you have a complaint against you or anything like that. So here you see some of the titles. So, because remember, we're looking at by title. So they're like Title 3, Title 4. So when a law is written, it's like Title 3, Section 1 says this. And so that's kind of what these things look like. So in specific, what I would like to look at, I'm going to scroll all the way down. There's so much stuff in here. So if you ever, are bored, like, this is good things to know because you're all citizens of this state. And if you're not, you can also go to your state's court website and find the same stuff. But anyways, so specific to Utah, we have the Utah Criminal Code, which is Title 76, and then we have Utah Code of Criminal Procedure, which is Title 77. So in Title 76, we have punishments, offenses, Sexual Exploitation Act, pyramid schemes. So this is all like crimes, which means so a crime is something that causes harm to a person or like an entity. Okay, so that's what a crime is. So that's something like this. There's also like offenses against public order and decency. That's where it's the crimes against, someone or some building or some official or something like that. Okay, so in Title 77, though, this is the Utah Code of Criminal Procedure, which is especially important to understand your rights within this. So I know it's been all over the place lately, and I'm going to just, again, I guess, kind of get on a soapbox for a sec, only because I feel like some people are just like lashing out for literally no reason, just other than the fact that they just don't know how it works. So I just want to let you know that when you get arrested, it's by a police officer, right? If you get pulled over or if an officer arrests you for something, there's only two things that have to be shown. Okay, so number one is that a crime probably happened. Not that it did and not that it didn't. They don't have to prove anything. They don't have to have evidence. That's not their job. Okay, a police officer's job is not collecting evidence. It's not their primary job. Their primary job is to enforce the law, right? So if they see a crime happening or a probable crime happening, maybe it's not a crime. Who knows? If it's something that looks like it could be a crime, they have the right to arrest you. Okay, that's their job. The other thing they have to prove is that you probably did it. Not that you did do it and not that you didn't do it. No one cares about that at this point in the process, okay? The only thing a cop has to prove is that a crime probably happened and that you probably did it, and that's called probable cause, okay? So, fighting the cops does you no good. None whatsoever. Arguing over a ticket does you no good whatsoever. All it shows in the report is that you were a jerk, basically. You were rude, and a judge, when you go in front of them, will see that you were combative, or that you argued, or whatever your demeanor was. It just looks bad on you, okay? Because a cop's job is just to give you the citation or arrest you. From there, they have nothing to do with it. That's not their job. They don't go running down this and that unless they're appointed by someone higher than them. They don't directly do any of that stuff, okay? You just have a probable cause. It's called a probable cause warrant, which means they're arresting you because a crime probably happened and it probably was you. So fighting the cops, it doesn't help you, because the people that decide if you are charged with that crime that a cop is alleging, is a prosecutor. The prosecutor in your county, or sometimes in the city, I mean, depending on what municipality you have and how it works, it's different everywhere. But the prosecutor is the one that says, yeah, there's enough evidence to say this happened and it was that guy. If they don't have enough, they dismiss it, because they're not going to waste the time, money, and effort on things that they can't prove. So if it goes to court, it's probably a high likelihood that they can prove their case. If you did not do it and you are arrested, that's where some things kind of get muddied, and I'm going to show you why. So a lot of people don't understand how these things work, or how the laws work, or who is in charge of what. And so all of this information here tells you everything you need to know about criminal procedure, okay? It tells you about lineups, criminal offense charges, the Uniform Act on Fresh Pursuit, grand jury reform, because I was going to say there's a lot of stuff in here that's new, because in 2015, actually, there was a judicial system kind of overhaul where a lot of things got changed. Now, in particular, October last year, there was a huge change to the bail system in Utah that happened, and a lot of people just really don't know because it hasn't happened to them, so they don't feel like they need to know. But I think everyone should know, because at any moment, any one of us, including myself, could be at risk of being arrested for something we didn't do, just by being in the wrong place, wrong time. There's a lot of things that happen when you're arrested. You know, in those times where your freedom is taken away from you, your brain is in like a flight or fight mode. And so you're not able to think clearly. You're trying to figure out how to get out of this, okay? Especially if you didn't do it. So Utah has changed their bail system, and it's not a completely, they haven't gone away with a total cash bail system or anything like that. Like some of the states rather in the East have actually completely gone away with the bail cash bail. And the reason for doing that is because there are a lot of people that are arrested and they just sit in there waiting, and they've never been convicted. And once, if they haven't been convicted, then nobody can get that time back. You know, you can't get your job back. So like a lot of people don't understand, when you get arrested, it's on your record, okay, if you plead guilty. So in the first 3 days after someone has been taken to jail, that's the highest likelihood that you will be sexually or physically targeted by guards in jail. Okay, it's just a statistic. It's a very high likelihood that it happens more than it doesn't. And it's within 3 days. Within 7 days, it's the highest likelihood for someone that is in jail to commit suicide. And this is all before they have even faced a judge. This is all before they have actually, you know, been able to answer for anything. Jail is not a fun place to be. It's a horrible place. In, I was going to say in New York, for example, when they started, that's kind of where this whole bail system stuff started, actually. And they were sending people that were arrested for whatever offenses it was. And again, the police, they just arrest people based on what they see, not anything else. So they arrest a person, and they were sending these people to this jail that was floating on the East River, and it was between two like garbage barges. And so just way out there, just waiting for the day that they actually get to answer for this crime, or this alleged crime, because it wasn't even proven that they did anything yet. and they're just sitting there. So when that happens to you, you automatically have some things that go on. Okay, so when you start realizing that if you plead guilty, they'll just let you out. You know, the prosecutor is going to say, well, I mean, you can plead guilty to something lesser and we'll just let you go now at your initial appearance, right? Or the judge will tell you you can plead and we'll just let you out. But if you didn't do it, why would you plead, right? People say that all the time. They don't understand that, you know, when you're in that situation and you feel hopeless, you will do anything to get out. And that includes admitting to something that you didn't do. So what they're trying to do, or at least what the movement has been trying to do, is eliminate that problem of not being able to think clearly. So how they do that is by letting you out. You go home and you get to fight your case from outside. A lot of times when someone's arrested for a crime and they sit in jail and it never goes to court, right? Or they don't actually get charged. The prosecutor may decide they don't have enough evidence. So there was a statistic that it said, and I believe it was around like 80% of people that pled guilty did so they could just go home and keep their jobs and their kids and their lives and all of that, right? So when you plead guilty, in a lot of situations, the DMV is alerted and they'll suspend your license for however many days or months, or sometimes, you know, if you do certain classes or whatever. You know, when you plead guilty, the judge might not let you out, depending on what the crime is. So you might have been misinformed. In that case, you could lose your job. You could also lose your job from having a record. You could lose your children, depending on what the charge is, or if you even get out after pleading. All of these kind of things can happen to you. And then it basically ruins your life. So number one, when you get arrested, before you talk to anyone, get a lawyer. It's free. They have to give it to you, and that's afforded you by the Fifth Amendment. A lot of people just think the Fifth Amendment is just not incriminating yourself, but it's actually tons more included in that. So if you don't know about the Fifth Amendment or the Sixth Amendment, you really need to look into those specifically because they affect you if you ever get arrested. So also, another thing to think about is how are you going to pay the bail if you do have bail, right? And a lot of people don't have money in their accounts to do that. So it's a real problem because a lot of judges will impose a bail that they think is reasonable to them, but it's not reasonable to another person, and they don't take your financial situation into account when they're assigning bail. It's usually based on whatever the crime is, even if, like I said, you haven't been convicted of it yet. So let's look at bail. The Utah Code of Criminal Procedure, Chapter 20, bail. So these are the sections 1 and all of these things. So right to bail. So that means like who has the right to bail. So in Utah, you'll be denied bail, which is right here, this denial of bail, based on some factors. It's usually like if it's a capital offense or if you committed a felony while you were on probation or parole. There's like a lot of things. So you can click on that and read more about it if you would like. Pretrial release data requirements. So what this is just they have to update the legislators on if their change to the justice system has made any impact on the community or on on the jail population and whatnot. So bail to be posted in cash, by credit card, debit card, or by written undertaking. Written undertaking is like your house or something like that, or property. Monetary bail methods. So we're going to look at that one. So it tells you, like right in here, bail is to be posted by cash. So that's that same thing we've seen. And you see the effective date here, 10/1/2020. So this is brand new stuff, guys. And a lot of people don't even know what happened. So a judge may limit a defendant to a specific method of posting monetary bail described in Section 1, which was the previous portion of who is allowed bail. So you can click that and go back to Section 1 if you would like to read that. A here it says, if after charges are filed, the defendant fails to appear in the case and a bond, and on a bond, and the case involves a violent offense. So they can limit you to a specific method of posting money for bail if you fail to appear or if it's a violent offense, in order to allow the defendant to voluntarily forfeit monetary bail and the offense with which the defendant is charged is listed in the shared master offense table as one for which an appearance is not mandatory. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in here that probably doesn't make sense to you. You can literally copy and paste it into Google and it will tell you kind of like how to understand it. But anyways, another one is like if there's a warrant issued for failure to pay a criminal judgment. If a court has entered a judgment of bond forfeiture, which means you didn't show up. So like say if you pay some bail for something, they have said, okay, we're setting your bail at X amount of money, and you do that in cash or credit card or debit, whatever it is. If you show up to court and after all of your criminal proceedings are done, you obviously get that money back. But if you don't show up or if you don't follow the things that you've agreed to, they can keep your money. So this is very different than bail with a bondsman. A bondsman charges you 10%. So they're taking responsibility for you. And a lot of people think, okay, you can just pay 10% and then it's all said and done. It's really not. What you're signing with a bail bondsman is that you only have to come up with 10% of the amount of your bail, and they're guaranteeing that you're showing up in court. So you don't get that money back that you pay a bail bondsman ever, because that's just their fee to take responsibility for you, okay? So there's like a lot of things that are really complicated in this stuff. However, let's go back to, hopefully it won't click me out of my stuff. Let's go back. Okay, so duration of liability, which basically means how long is your money going to be tied up for, right? And there's rules on that. Detaining or releasing a defendant on conviction and prior to sentencing. Okay, surrender of a defendant, arrest of a defendant, grounds for detaining a defendant while appealing. So if you don't agree with what happened in court, appeal it. You can appeal anything you want in obviously the state level. Whether it goes farther than that is up to the judges above. So the one that I wanted to see was grounds for detaining and releasing on conviction and prior to sentence. So upon conviction by plea, which means once you have been convicted of the crime, okay, the court can order that you have to be detained, okay? But if you are just accused of a crime that's under a Class A misdemeanor, book and release, okay? That's what Utah's court is supposed to be doing, is book and release. And the reason is because there is so many people in jail that are just waiting to find out if they actually, for the judges and the legal system to find out if they actually did anything wrong or not. Sitting in jail doesn't mean you did it, okay? A cop charging you with something making a complaint against you, or a cop citing you, or a cop arresting you does not mean that you did it. Okay, the only people that can charge you with anything is a prosecutor. Your neighbor calls a complaint, your wife says that you beat her up, makes a complaint. A complaint is not a charge. That's a complaint. That's all it is. The person that has all of the power is the prosecutor. They decide if they want to charge you or not, okay? So there are a lot of these things here in this subsection that explain basically like what has to happen if you are released for pretrial, which is basically you don't have bail. Okay, so it's like you can be released on your own recognizance, which is book and release, basically, right? Financial condition, which means, you know, bail. Pretrial release condition, which means like they can have you do like an ankle bracelet or whatever. There's like a lot of these things. So anyways, there's tons of stuff in here, guys. If you want me to get into something more specific, I'm totally down to help out. I just wanted to show you where to find these things, and specifically because in that survey that I did on Facebook, a lot of, you know, I mean, a lot of people said, yeah, I've got 500 bucks. Okay, cool. You got 500 bucks to get yourself out of jail. But what if it's more than that? Or what about the people that don't have 500 bucks, you know, and the judge is just assigning bail based on what he thinks is reasonable. He doesn't know what's in your pocket, right? So these are just things that you need to know. Just in case, because it could happen to you at any moment, anytime. And yeah, so anyways, if you like this video, please feel free to share it with someone else that might need to know some information or where to find information on laws and what people are allowed to do to you. All right. Yeah, have a good one.